When the user is playing on the game, we have now handled one part of this display section. We've now linked the image to the number of items, but the next thing we want to do is to also display the name of the image. So for example, we'll say 8 eggs, and we'll change this for each image. If we go back to our code in the script.js, inside of our generate function, we already actually have access to our random image name, and we're storing this inside of this constant. So here this is grabbing our images array, passing in our random number, and then selecting the image name property, as we can see just here. So what I'm going to do now, we could either use this random image name to add the functionality to this generate function, but instead to keep things more separate, I'm going to create a new function. So let's add this into our generate function. I'm going to call this one set image name. And this function is going to take in our random image name. So let's grab this and paste this in. And we can use this outside of our generate function. So let's say const. So the function name of set image name, and this is taken in our variable of random image name. This is a arrow function. Before we write our code into this function, let's do a console log and check we are receiving the random image name. Open up the console. And we'll click on play. We see the eggs.jpg, the cars.jpg. So what we now want to do is to take this name and display this inside of our user interface. Before we do this though, we need to trim the .jpg extension off the end of this image. And the way we can do this is by using a JavaScript method which is called slice. Slice is going to take a string of text, and we already have our random image name for our string, and then we'll call this slice method, and this will return a new string with a certain part removed. So let's remove our console log. We can access our random image name, call the slice method. Slice is going to take in 2 values, which is going to be the start and the end position of the characters which you want to remove. So if we had eggs.jpg, we want to remove the word which is eggs. So we'll begin at the very first character, which is the position of 0, and then the second value, which is optional. If we were to leave this out, this would go right through to the end of our string, but instead we want to go back 4 places. And the way we can do this is by getting the full length of our string, and then going back 4 places. So first of all, we can get the full length of this string by using the random image name .length. So currently this goes from the start, or the letter E, right through to the end of our string, which is the letter G, and we want to go back 4 places, so let's use -4. We can check this is working by storing this inside of a constant. Let's call this the image name. Set this equal to the new value which is returned from our splice method, and then we can do a console log with our new image name. So back over to the console and inspect. Click on play. We now see .jpg has been removed from each one of our names. So this is good, and this is all now working, and the next thing we need to do is to update the user interface. Inside of our index, let's go to our placeholder and remove this. And then we can target this span with the ID of item name. So document.getElementById, the ID which was item name, and then we can set the inner HTML which is equal to our variable of image name. Just after this, I'm also going to add on to the end a string which is a question mark, just to let the user know that this is a question. So this will say 7 ducks and then a question mark, so the user knows that this is a question to answer. Let's try this out over inside the browser. Click on play. See 2 cars, that's good. Bananas, ducks, and this is all now working fine. So with this now taken care of, now let's move on to the next video where we're going to handle the user's guess.